You guys have to stick around for this episode. It's a really good one. What I can tell you is that what I'm excited about is the fact that one of the things that I talk about is price justification. And Lorenzo took that idea, put his own spin on it. You have to stick to see what he came up with. And the idea that I talk about is the concept of reusing the same real estate multiple times. I think you'll find this interesting. Enjoy. All right, guys, we are back with another episode, and this time we are looking at a brand called Magic Spoon. They sell healthy cereal, Lorenzo, correct? Is that the right term? Okay. Yeah. So morning breakfast that we would have. So cereal, that's what they sell. And this is the page that we picked was, I believe this is their bestseller, but also this page is a variety pack. And so they have they have 4 different cereals, but I think you can, this you can't customize. You can customize over here. So there's a drop down to, you can have a variety pack, which is the default setting, which is the one we looked at, we considered. But if you want to just get, 4 boxes of cocoa, you can do that as well. And it'll just give you 4 boxes of, it's reloading the page, sorry. So this is the 4 boxes of cocoa page. I'm just going to go back just to give you a little orientation of how the page is set up. And then of course they have lots of reviews and standard add to cart. Then they show the features over here as well, all the key attributes that they want to draw attention to, all the ingredients that are available. And then there's this us versus them content, which I think is great. That shows, because they know people are switching from brands. And then they have custom reviews. So it's a very simple standard layout. And we're going to dive right into our ideas. I'll kind of go first, and then Lorenzo's going to talk about his ideas. So the first thought that I had when I was looking at this was the fact that I totally know why they're doing it, but the variety pack, no matter what flavor, even if you select the variety pack, or if you pick one flavor, they will still sell it in a case of 4 boxes. So you can't get 1 box. Now, I was thinking about the psychology of the buyer. And one of the things that we're always optimizing for what is the standard behavior of the buyer. Now, for me, I typically buy cereal at a grocery store. And when I go to the grocery store, I buy 1 box. And for me, that became the point of friction, is that, oh, I have to buy 4 boxes. Now, I know there's a good reason for it. And this is where the retailer has an opportunity to educate us on something important. So what I did was, in my concept, so this is the screenshot of the mobile page, but in my concept, you'll notice one small change. There's a little link over here that says nothing smaller. And this is specifically designed for people who are reading 4 boxes and saying, what the hell? I don't want to get 4 boxes. I've never bought for these guys before. And so they would be drawn to this question. Now, the idea is, and I'm going to have to increase my size.
Yeah, make it bigger, please.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to read my concept. So let me just reduce. Nope, I'll make this big. Okay. So basically, I'm not going to tell you guys what the sales pitch is, but the basic idea is that clearly there's a reason why these guys are selling 4 boxes and not 1 box. And the reason is because you have to pay shipping. It doesn't make economic sense to, sell 1 box and charge for shipping. Now, the shipping for the 4 boxes, by the way, is $5. So it's less of a sticker shock when you're paying $40 and you're paying $5 for shipping. It makes more sense. So I wanted to kind of put together a sales pitch. Now, the outline of the sales pitch is this. I'm just going to read it out to you. It basically says that shipping isn't a trivial cost. So it starts off by saying shipping is not a trivial cost. So immediately I'm addressing the elephant in the room. And I'm saying we pay $4.99 per order. Having you pay $4.99 for 1 box seemed ludicrous. So again, just kind of adding dramatic effect and saying we thought it was outrageous to charge $5. But we couldn't eat that cost either, because then we wouldn't have a business. Reducing our quality wasn't an option we would ever entertain. So basically saying reducing quality is off the table. So we came up with the idea of a 4-pack. For your information, this variety pack was chosen by, and there's a reveal button of first-time buyers. The idea here is when you click on reveal, it's saying this variety pack is preferred by 82% of buyers. So kind of just creating some kind of an effect over here. But the point I'm trying to make over here is I'm not suggesting that this is the perfect explanation for this. All I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is that for a certain percentage of shoppers, whether it's 5% or 10%, I don't know what it is, they will be turned off. They will have an objection to the fact that they have to buy 4 boxes, first time buyers. For them, we need a call to action. I'm not suggesting that this is the perfect copy. I'm sure a better copywriter can create better copy, but the bottom line is that there needs to be some mechanism for them. Let's agree on that. The other point I want to make is that there needs to be some explanation. You can't simply say that we had 4 boxes, deal with it. There has to be some explanation. I'm not suggesting that this explanation is the right explanation. And this is why we would experiment and we would try and test different explanations to see what people respond to. And that's my first idea. But I want to just add to this one more thing, which is that I also know that people have, even though I might think this is a prominent location, they may not pay attention to it. So what I've done is I've set it up as a conditional logic where if they skip this, don't interact with it, and they continue scrolling down to the price point, then what I've done is I've actually repeated it at that price point only for people that didn't click the first reference to the button. If you did click on it, this is not shown. So that was my first idea, to essentially make this element super visible.
Yeah, I want to say something. I really like the location of the first call to action right next to the section where it says 4 boxes, because that's where the user is having the objection. Yeah. So what you're doing there, you're mind reading the user by saying, yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, oh, I wonder why there's nothing smaller. So now what you're doing is you're seeding an objection that they might have. And when the user click on it, they see they pop up with the whole explanation of why, you guys, why the company has come up with that concept.
Yeah, and this is the wonderful thing about testing is that, this is actually the ultimate hack. The ultimate magic power of testing is it allows us to test different message ideas. Yeah. And so I am not suggesting, and please don't take away from the show that, can you send me a screenshot of the copy you wrote? I'm going to test it on my website to see if it works. That's a wrong wrong way of looking at it. What I'm suggesting is come up with like 5 different points of view and test them, assuming you have enough traffic. This page has 36,000 reviews, so it's fair to say that they probably have a lot of traffic. So it makes sense to test it. But just think of the idea from that perspective. So, okay, I'm going to now jump to my second idea. So I'll give you some context about my second idea, because I think this is an important point. So what I've done in my second idea is that I've decided that the thing about mobile pages is that we have limited real estate. And I think one of the mistakes that marketers make is we try to cram too much information because we think everything is very important. And what I've decided to do is to actually, there are only few strategic locations on any page that I would consider to be like prime real estate. For one prime real estate area in this case is over here, because there's an opening over here and it's higher on the page. That's a good real estate. But there is no doubt that this is also a very, very, very sought after prime real estate, just because price is such a high intensity topic. So what I did was I investigated the website. And one of the things that I found was they have this us versus them content, which they also reference over here. But there's another thing that they have that I thought was quite nice, was their our story content. And I felt like the founders had a very interesting personality. I like the cartoon kind of look that they have. They introduce themselves and they basically are talking about the fact. I mean, I just thought it was a very good story that made me as a reader feel like, I have the same relationship with cereal as well, or I really like cereal, whatever it is. I thought this was a very powerful story. Now, one of the mistakes that marketers will make is they'll say, let's cram this story on the product page as well. And I disagree with this thinking, because I think that not everyone would care for this, and we have limited real estate. Now, this is where we would have a conflict, because if you look at the concept that I shared with you, you would notice in my concept, I had also conditionally shown a message over here, which means I've already used that spot. Now, another idea could be that, okay, this spot is taken, let's use this spot over here, or let's use this spot over here. The problem with this mindset is that eventually you get to a stage where everything is being bombarded onto users. So my idea was to use clever, smart logic to reuse this real estate. And I want to do it conditionally. Here's what I've done. What I did was I identified what is my most valuable content and what is my second most valuable content and what is my third most valuable content. So I decided that the most valuable content for this real estate is what we originally did about the size. Because to me, what this is, I should just make a point here. When I'm thinking about conversion optimization, I'm really thinking about it in reverse order of resistance. So I'm asking myself, what is the biggest resistance a shopper would have? And to me, the biggest resistance is the fact that they have to buy 4 boxes. Now, I could be wrong, and this is why testing would prove or disprove if what I'm believing is right or wrong. But I decided that the highest hierarchy was for the 4 boxes. The next biggest hierarchy was, what is special about you guys? So I thought that our story was relevant there. And I thought that the third hierarchy was, how are you different from other brands? So I decided that was my hierarchy. So I came up with a concept based on that. Here's what I did. I identified this real estate and I put conditional logic. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit, and this is a blank space, and the programmer on the back end has created this logic that says, for people who didn't click the first instance of nothing smaller at the top of the page, I want to use this space to repeat the link nothing smaller. For people who did click that instance of nothing smaller, I'd like to use this location to ask this question: have you met Greg and Gobi? And on click on a light box or a pop-up, or as Lorenzo would call a modal, show their story. Don't take them away from this page, because keep them on this page. And then I want to add one more layer on top of that. For people who did click on the first instance of nothing smaller and who have already visited the our story page, because you can easily track it. I want to use that same real estate to show the copy. How do we stack up against the classics? And when you click on it, I want to scroll, because one of the things that I found was problematic. Now, again, Lorenzo might have a different take on this, but in my experience, when I look at heat maps, I find typically that people don't scroll much below this point. So the fact that they are having this content over here, I think there's an inherent risk that people won't see it. So what I did was I converted it into a hyperlink that essentially anchor links to that lower part of the page. But I added extra code, because this table over here is very simplistic. But if you actually go to their us versus them page, just a second, I just want to show you real quick. On this page, they actually have some pretty good content over here. I thought it was very good. And then they also have, this image is not loading, but they also have this really nice content over here. Let's see if I can refresh this. Okay, there we go. I thought this was pretty good content, which is missing from that page. Now, this is the great thing. I understand what the marketer did. The marketer decided that of the content on this page, this is the most important content. Therefore, this is the only content I would include in my product page, because I have real estate limitations. But something very special happens when the user clicks on that link that says, I want to know about us versus them. The user is telling you, I care about that content. That should cause you to reprioritize the content. If the user is saying they care about it, then show them this story as well. So what I did was I said, if someone clicks on that anchor link, when you scroll you down to that page, that content, we would also then dynamically reveal these 2 pieces of content above and below that table, similar to that other page, because I'm giving them more context for that. And Lorenzo, I know I've spoken a lot, but that is the end of my presentation.
Before talking about my first idea, I, as always, want to show you guys my reviews mining approach. This is the raw data that I just pulled from Magic Spoon's website. And I have one tab, which I called complaints, which is basically like the main complaints that people had around the purchase, around the product. And I want to kind of like point out on, the attention on the biggest one, which is it's an expensive product. So what people are saying here is it's people who bought the product and they're saying, well, it's good, but it's very expensive. And in fact, $39 for 4 packs of cereals is quite steep price. So I want to use here a technique that Rishi actually taught me, which is called price justification. And I'll explain my idea in a second. because I also want to show you guys three things that I noticed straight from the reviews mining. So what you see here are voice of the customer 1, voice of the customer 2, and voice of the customer 3. And what these are is basically straight reviews that customers have left about Magic Spoon. And highlighting in orange are basically a section where they actually justifying the price themselves. So for example, I'm going to read out loud the first one. They're a little more expensive than regular cereal, but for the advantage of not putting more unknitted sugar into my body, it's well worth the price. So what this customer is doing is basically realizing that the price is a little bit higher compared to the competition, which in his case, he considers the competition the regular and traditional cereals. But then on the other side, the drawback of the price is being offset because now the user is not putting so much sugar inside the body. So for that reason, it's well worth the price. And there's other two voice of the customer that are very similar in terms of like execution. What these customers are doing, they're basically like saying, hey, it's expensive, but it's worth it, right? So based on that, my idea is to basically add a call out that says, why is the price so high? Exactly next to the pricing. And again, this is like typical of Rishi doing something like this, which actually brings up a very interesting topic, which is like him and I play this ping pong game all the time where we learn from each other. Sometimes he comes up with an idea, and that idea is an inspiration for an idea I have in a future episode. And he's done the same with me. Now, once the user clicks on this call out, what happens is that there's a modal or a pop-up that appears, and the pop-up says, we asked some customers if Magic Spoon cereal's price is too high. And here's what they answered. And then what I put here is the exact same reviews copy that customers have left on the product page. And I highlighted, when they talk about the exact, the price justification. But then what I also put to showcase that, I haven't really, like, this is not something that I come up myself, right? I'm basically justifying the potential objection
that's right
that customers might have. Oh, these reviews are fake, right? What I'm doing here is I'm actually linking to the exact review that the customer has left on the product page. So then if the user clicks on it, it gets redirected straight to the review.
I really like that touch, because that totally changes everything. Because even though people won't click on it, this is the point, is that, don't look at the click rates. The fact that it's available immediately diffuses in my mind the fact it was doctored. That's all that I need to communicate to the buyer.
Yeah, 100%. It's a good point. So the second, I called it us versus them, the traditional and the not traditional cereals. So first of all, the way I would actually, work on this idea is, first, I would run some customer surveys, because I want to understand who Magic Spoon's competitors are. And I know that they have a bunch of brands on their product pages that they mentioned in the us versus them section. But I also want to make sure that who I address to be my competitors on the product page are the actual customers, the actual companies that customers have told me that they're considering during their decision-making process. So what I would do here, I would do two things. First of all, I would run a simple, like an on-site poll with the following question. What other cereals brands are you considering buying, right? And I would keep it extremely like open-ended question. So then they actually tell me what the list of all the competitors they're considering. The second thing I would do is I will run a post-purchase survey, so only targeting people that already bought. You can do that with a simple email marketing automation tool, or simply put a question on the thank you page. And the question would be, what other serious brands have you considered before buying from Magic Spoon? And again, I want to keep it open to let the user tell me. So I'm not giving them the options to choose. I want them to tell me what these options are.
Yeah, and I think that makes all the difference, because it increases your workload a little bit on the back end, but it's much easier for you to interpret what they, like, for example, like if they said, I tried a keto brand, you can categorize it appropriately. So I think having it open-ended is better than them being selecting from 5 options,
Correct.
none of which are a good match.
Correct. Now, let's say that the client tells me, sorry, Lorenzo, but we can't send the surveys. We can't really set up any widget, any on-site poll on the site. So then I'm like, oh my God, I need to get the data from somewhere, right? So what I actually found, this is a screenshot from a tool called Ahrefs, which basically tells you a bunch of keywords that are similar to something that you put in. And what I did was I put the keyword Magic Spoon, and then it gave me like hundreds of thousands of keywords that have that word Magic Spoon. And then what I did is I filter by the word versus, and that's the typical language that people use whenever they want to compare Magic Spoon with other brands. And so this is kind of like the list of all the brands that the customers compare Magic Spoon with. And what I realized is that a lot of these brands like Catalina Crunch, Hikey, which is actually another brand that we did an episode of a couple of weeks ago. So you guys can watch it in our YouTube video. And then the other ones, Three Wishes, Cereal School, are all keto-friendly cereals. And what happens is that in the us versus them section here on the product page, these are all classic brands, classic cereals brands. So what is happening here is that the user is comparing Magic Spoon with other keto-friendly brands, but on the product page, I'm only comparing Magic Spoon with the classic with the classic cereal brands. So my solution to that is basically introducing Magic Spoon versus traditional cereals, which is already present, but also versus other keto-friendly cereals. And here's how I would execute this idea. So just below the add to cart section, I would have a call out that says, how are we different than other cereals in the market? And this is an anchor link, meaning that when people click on it, they get scrolled down in the us versus them section. And what they did, what I had here is I basically added this section where the user can decide to select either the traditional cereals, which is the actual visual that you can see here in control, or other keto-friendly cereals, which are basically like new brands that I'm introducing that based on the survey data, the customer is comparing with. So now I have a visual, not just of the classic brands, but also of the other keto friendly brands.
By the way, really good design work as well. I might have to step up my game. I think it really helps because it's it makes it much clearer for me. So I think the viewers will like it as well.
Cool. The other thing I want to mention here, if I want to bring this idea one step further, one of the things that I realized that the strength of signal in the reviews mining wasn't that high, but there were a few people that mentioned that they're replacing other type of meals with the cereals. So for example, some people mention about being on a diet, on a keto-friendly diet, and they're basically replacing some of the normal food that they would eat, like on a keto diet, with this type of cereals. So now these people are not buying Magic Spoon cereals to replace them with other type of cereals. They're buying them to replace them with other type of food. So what I would do here, I would probably add another tab here where I'm comparing Magic Spoon with other type of food that customers have told me that they're replacing Magic Spoon with.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. One thing I should clarify as well from my presentation, I talked about I focused on the R story content. There's something that I didn't mention to the listeners, which is important, is that the reason why I really like the R story content was because one of the things to keep in mind is that cereal, especially for adults, cereal also are nostalgia. They bring
Yeah,
back a memory of our childhood, and actually the founders talked about that. And
yeah.
I think that's an angle, that's a very strong angle as well, which they're not playing on the product page. And I think if you can play that, that's I think a strong idea to play with as well.
Yeah, and actually, let's see if I find it from my reviews mining. In the benefit section, there's somebody that said, let's see, 1 second. Yeah, reminded me when I was a child. So in
Right.
particular, there were a few people that said, oh, as soon as I put the spoon in my mouth and I started to feel the taste of those cereals, oh my God, I had so many memories of when I was little.
And they could even turbocharge this as a future idea. They could have, like, again, we've talked about this idea, but I think it's so powerful, is they could have a taste test in their office and record reactions. And I just think
Nice.
it's just so, they could have a child kind of describing the cocoa flavor, but they could have an adult describing it as well, so you have two different perspectives. It'll be fun.
That's all I got.
Awesome. I think this has been great. Thanks, guys, for showing up, and we will see you again with another DTC brand in the next 7 days. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao.